Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial, and today we are in one of the collection spaces on the battleship. This space formerly was used by flag staff at the end of the ship's career, although your booklet of general plans may have it listed as something different because those modifications made in '89 do not show up on all the booklets of general plans. But this space is 2 TAC 64 TAC 4L. So we're pretty far forward on second deck, not too far from where my office is. And today we're going to be looking at a new collection of objects that was donated by a donor out on the West Coast who took a short cruise on Battleship New Jersey in 1969. So we're going to use this as an opportunity to talk about Tiger cruises or dependent cruises. When I was in 4th grade, my dad's work had a Take Your Child to Work Day, where they let people bring their children, usually of the 4th grade age, into the workplace and see, and they had activities and a picnic lunch and all sorts of other things. It was great for worker morale, and it was great for people like me to see what it was my dad did all the time. The Navy has been doing the same thing. And these are commonly called dependent cruises or Tiger cruises. So often, before or after a long deployment, the ship will go out and do a short sail. Oftentimes, it's just around whatever harbor they're in. The one I'm going to tell you about today is only a couple hours long. Other dependent cruises are close to a week long, where you can get on the ship and go from one port to another. Often, when you're sailing up the East Coast to redeploy your ship, one of the legs of that journey, you could take dependents on board. Likewise, if you're going from the West Coast to Hawaii or vice versa, you can often take dependents on cruises like that, in peacetime at least. So, this is just a small collection of objects from somebody who took one of these cruises. Now, oftentimes, members of the crew who have family would end up taking their family members on board, a wife or children, even parents at different times. But oftentimes, you're deployed on the opposite side of the world from where you're from. So, in many instances, you bring your family with you, but sometimes your family doesn't want to relocate. Sometimes you don't have much of a family at all. You haven't started your own family at this point. Many members of the ship's crew are younger, 18 years old, something like that. They don't have wives, children, anything like that. So it's not uncommon to invite girlfriends or other guests like that on board. So this individual was a girlfriend of one of the sailors on board, and she saved all of the memorabilia from her time on board until, what is it now? It's early September 2021. So she would have called me on the phone probably mid-August and then mailed the stuff cross-country from where she lives on the West Coast. I believe she was living in the Bremerton, Washington area. And this cruise took place at Long Beach. So let's just go through her collection. None of this stuff in here is super rare. We have a lot of objects like this from the various deployments. The stuff doesn't change too much over the year. So our first object here is a rocker patch. This would go on the shoulder of your uniform. Usually in peacetime and wartime, you remove markers of what ship you're on, although this was during the Vietnam War. But that wasn't a naval war at all. These are a very common souvenir that we see lots of people have. This one still has the adhesive on the back. It was never ironed or sewed on to a uniform. So these are very common in the ship's store, and I imagine it was pretty easy to go in, buy a handful, and give them out to friends and family. They do make a good present. They're easy to mail, and you can see just how evident this is if you go on eBay and look for your preferred ship's rocker patch, and you'll see these all over the place, usually in the $5 range. Next up, we have a crew member ID pass. So this is an interesting little object that was printed out specifically for the trip. And it says Battleship crew member, Battleship New Jersey, and says, be it known that person's name did accompany the world's only seagoing battleship on a voyage into the great expanse of my realm. In witness thereof, I hereby declare that he, interesting even though this is a female, shall hereafter be accorded the title of honorary member of the crew of the Dreadnought New Jersey. Signed, Neptunus Rex, and his servant, Captain J. Edward Snyder, Jr. So this is one of a number of similar types of objects that were printed on board, probably in the ship's print shop during that cruise, although there is the chance that these were mass-produced in the base print shop or even somewhere off base ordered by the crew. And another good souvenir. And this particular one also serves as an ID badge and a pass to show the Marine Guard to get onto base. Similarly, there's this other postcard in here, which is the commanding officer and ship's company of the USS New Jersey, BB-62, requests the pleasure of the company of, her name, at a family cruise at sea departing on 25 August 1969 at Pier E, Long Beach at 10 o'clock and returning at 2:30 o'clock. So there's all the critical details right there and a nice cardstock invitation. The next object in here is the actual written invitation. And this is pretty interesting. It gives all of the sorts of information that you need to know in a single one-page from the captain's desk. So it specifically says, hey, wear this type of clothes. You're going to be on board for this period of time. Make sure you come on board a half hour before we leave, or the gangway will be up and you won't get here. Lunch will be served at this time. We're going to have coffee and donuts, all that sort of stuff, all the things that you would need on an invitation. So again, this one was probably printed on board. The cardstock stuff may have been made off board, although our print shop could handle it, but this one was almost certainly printed on board. And then the final piece is the battleship herself being retired into the mothball fleet. This is part of a newspaper article that would have been released just a couple months after this cruise. We can find more information about this particular Tiger cruise from one of the ship's cruise books, the one from 1969 entitled Dreadnought Farewell. This book is by the famous photographer Neil Leifer, and it shows pictures of this particular Tiger cruise in 1969. We've even got the invitation to Captain Peniston, who would take over from Captain Snyder after this cruise. And it shows pictures of lunch on the fantail, the crew and their family. They didn't set up any seating, it looks like. People are just sitting all over the deck. It's funny to think that the donor of these may well be one of the background people in these pictures. Later on in this book, there's a series of pictures of, at that time, a young boy, now probably somebody older than my dad, going through the ship with their parent, who is one of the ship's commanders, a higher-ranking officer. I don't believe any Tiger cruises took place during World War II, and I'm not entirely sure when the concept of a dependent cruise came about. The ship certainly hosted parties on board in Norfolk and was built with multiple female bathrooms, even though there were no female crew members on board, not modified, but built with these spaces. So clearly the ship was designed to entertain families when she was in port. And this is still a tradition done in the modern Navy. I saw an article not too long ago that one of the aircraft carriers getting ready for deployment was doing a big Tiger cruise on board. So, have you ever gotten a chance to visit an actual commissioned warship? What about doing a cruise on board? I have not done a Tiger cruise, although I have gotten some tours of commissioned ships. Let us know your experiences with these down in the comment section below. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, also from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate the support. It lets us keep doing what we're doing. There's a link in the description if you'd like to help us out. You can also support the museum and our YouTube channel by liking and sharing and subscribing so more people find out about us. Thanks for watching.